Hello and welcome to this tutorial. My name's Duncan Taborda. I'm an adult tutor and I've been teaching English to adults for the last 10 years right here in the beautiful city of London. I'm also the founder of Class 1 School of English, and it's a brand new school. We're about to start again right in the centre of London towards the end of this month. Okay? Today's tutorial is going to be about the passive voice. The passive voice is a fantastic element of English. It's something that I encourage a lot, and it's something that I teach my students right from a very early stage, because it allows you to refocus. It adds a whole new dimension to your English, and it's going to improve your speaking skills and your writing skills, okay? So the passive voice. Now, before we start, I just need to emphasize that the passive voice is not a tense. I've seen it listed on the internet as a tense. It is not a tense. It maintains the tense that you want to speak in, okay? The tense that you are speaking in. In English, we've got 12 tenses, as I calculate it. Some people are on there saying more, some are saying less. I actually think there's 12 tenses. I'll go into that in a future tutorial. But the passive voice is not one of them, okay? The passive voice can be used in any tense in English. Now, let's start off by showing you the construction of the passive voice, okay? The two essential elements of the passive voice are the verb to be and the past participle. These are two things that it's going to be vital for you to learn to find out more about, okay? It does need another element, but I'm going to come to that. But these two, absolutely essential, and it's crucial that you learn about them. Now, the verb to be, this is simply things like I am, you are, he is, am, is, or are in the present tense. In the past, am and is become was, are becomes were, and so on and so forth. But the verb to be is used in every passive voice sentence, okay? The past participle, I call it the third form of the verb. Now, we have two types of verbs in English. We've got the regular verbs and we've got the irregular verbs, okay? Now, the regular verbs in the past tense, in the past tense and in the past participle, they're always identical, they're always the same, and they always end with ed. There isn't enough paper in the world for me to print every regular verb that we have in English. So what I do is, I've printed a list of irregular verbs. Not everyone, but the ones the most common ones, the ones that you are likely to come across. I'm going to upload it onto my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to download it for yourself, so you've got it with you. And as you can see, we've got 3 lines. The first line, the first column, this is the base form of the verb. The base form means this is how the verb starts, yeah? To be, to speak, to say, to stand. This is the base form of it. The middle line, this is the past simple tense. So speak becomes spoke, stand becomes stood. Eat becomes ate, okay? The third line, this is the past participle. Now, I said that in the regular verb, the past participle and the past simple are always the same. This is not always the case in the irregular verbs. Some of them are, it's true, but a lot of them aren't. So it's vital that it's very important that you try and acquaint yourself with the most common irregular verbs. It's not a topic that can be taught, because there are no rules. Irregular verbs don't follow any rules. So if anybody asks you for money in order to teach you about irregular verbs, call the police straight away. They're trying to rob you, okay? So I will have this on there for you to download for yourself. But basically, the past participle is the third form of the verb. Can never be used on its own as a verb. Never, okay? Whatever anybody tells you. And if you hear native speaking English people saying, I done my work yesterday, I seen my friend, it's completely wrong. It is not right, okay? The past participle cannot be used on its own. So here we have the two most vital components of the passive voice. Now, let's go right to the beginning. Let's try and explain the passive voice from the beginning. To do that, I'm going to go to a very simple English sentence, okay? I'm going to go to this sentence here. I teach the class. Okay? So, this sentence is now made up of a subject, which is I. The subject of a sentence is the person or the thing who is doing the action in the sentence, okay, the verb. So in this case, I am doing the action, so I am the subject, okay. The action or the verb is to teach. That's what I'm doing. So this becomes the verb, and it's the action in the verb, in the sentence, okay? And then the class, this is now the object, and the object of a sentence is the person or thing that the action is being done to. So in this case, the teach is being done to the class, okay? So I teach the class. Now, in theory, an English sentence does not have to have an object. It does have to have a subject and a verb. These are essential. Without one of those, you cannot have a sentence. It doesn't need an object. But in reality, most sentences will have an object, okay? And it's when you have this sentence with a subject, verb, and an object, this is where you have the opportunity to use the passive voice. So I'm going to give you an example with this sentence now. I teach the class, okay? If the most important thing to me is not the fact that I teach the class, it's just the fact that the class is getting tuition and is learning, my focus now changes from me, the subject, to the action and to the object. And this is when you would use the passive voice, is when you think, in your opinion, the action in the verb and the object in the verb are more important than the subject, okay? So let's do that. So the object, I'm now going to flip this on its head and I'm going to make the object into the subject. So I'm going to write the class as my subject. Okay? This tense, I teach, is the present simple tense. Okay? So the present simple tense for the class, because the class has now become the subject, the present simple tense is. The class is. Okay, of the present simple tense of to be, that is. To be, the present simple tense is. So I'm going to make that into is. And then I'm going to use the past participle of teach, which in this case is taught. Okay, so I'm not interested. I don't want people to know that I'm the one who's giving these people the tuition, this class the tuition. All I'm interested in is that people know the class is receiving the tuition it needs. So I don't need to mention me. Now I can put by me at the end. It doesn't, there's nothing stopping me from doing that in the passive voice. The point is that I don't need to. So in this case, my passive voice sentence has become the class is taught. As you can see, I've maintained the tense with the verb to be, and I've used the past participle of to teach, which is the past participle. Now, in the case of to teach, the past participle and the past simple are the same, exactly the same word. So I'm going to use a verb now which has a different past participle, and I'm going to change the tense to the past simple. So, I spoke to my friend. Okay? Now I've changed the tense. I am still the subject. Okay? The verb is now to speak, but I'm talking about yesterday. So I've made it into the past. Okay? But this is the verb. This word to, this is known as a preposition. That will be covered in a future tutorial. So I'm not going to go into it in detail today. And here you've got my friend, who is the object. Okay? Again, I'm not interested in letting people know that it's me that did the speaking. I'm just interested in letting them know that my friend was, somebody did speak to my friend. Okay? So I'm going to make my friend the object. My friend. And the present simple tense of to be for my friend would once again be is. However, I want the past simple. Now the verb to be, the past simple am and is becomes was. Okay? Are becomes were, but am and is becomes was. So my friend was Now I need the past participle of the original verb, which is to speak. And the past participle, which will be on this list once you download it, the past participle of speak is spoken. And then I'm going to put to at the end. My friend was spoken to. I'm not interested in letting people know that it was by me, but as I said before, I can put that there. It's not important. My friend was spoken to. Now you can use the passive voice in any tense whatsoever, present, past, future. So it can be confusing when you first learn about it. You're thinking, hang on a sec, it's called the past participle. Sounds like it belongs in the past. How can I use it in the present? How can I use it for the future? That is the element of the passive voice. Whatever the tense, you use the past participle, but you're not using it as a tense. You're using it as a verb along with the verb to be. Okay, like I said, you can never use the past participle by itself as a verb. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example now of why I would use that. What is the point? You know, why can't I just say, I spoke to my friend? What's the big deal? Let me give you an example, okay? My boss, I'm teaching my class. Let me get rid of this. I am teaching my class and my boss walks past the class, he looks into the class and for some reason he can't see me. Don't know, maybe I'm bending down helping a learner, maybe I was at the computer printing something off, I don't know, he didn't see me and he's not very happy about this. So when my session's finished, he calls me into his room, he says, I walked past your class and you were not teaching the class, I'm not very happy about that. Okay, so let me write that down. Whoops. You were not teaching the class. Okay, that's what he said to me. Let's break that sentence down. You is now the subject. Okay, this, all three of these are now the verb, but they're, and it's still a continuous. It's a continuous verb because it's got ing in it. A continuous verb is when an action is going on for a little while. Okay, but this is in the past tense. Now I'm going to cover continuous in a future tutorial, so I'm not going to dwell on it here. Suffice to say that he's saying that in the past, I have not been doing something I was supposed to be doing, because he's got the word not in there. So he's made it into a negative past continuous. You were not teaching, and then the class is still the object. Okay? Now, obviously I'm not very happy about that. I'm not very happy at all. But I'm not interested in letting him know that I was teaching the class. That's not what I'm trying to prove to him. Professionally, I want him to know that that class was receiving the tuition it had come to get. Okay, that's what's making me really angry, that he would think that they would not get that tuition that they deserve because of me. So I'm not interested in making myself a subject or anything like that. I'm only interested in focusing on the class and the action, which is the teaching. Remember I said, this is why you would use the passive voice. When the action in the verb and the object to which that action is happening become more important than the subject, the person who is doing the action. So I'm going to flip it on its head. I'm going to make the class the object, the subject, sorry. Okay. Now let's look at this verb. I said it's the past continuous. Okay. The past continuous. Now for the class, in the present tense, again it's mentioned before, in the present tense of to be, it's is, but now we're looking at the past, so that's going to be was. Is becomes was. Yeah. So I'm going to say the class was. I now need a continuous. I need an ing from the verb to be. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use be and I'm going to put ing on the end of it. ing. There you are. I've now got the past continuous. The class was being, and if you remember, the original verb for teaching is teach. The past participle was taught. And that is all I need to say to him. Excuse me, the class was being taught. I'm using it for emphasis. I'm using it to make a strong point, okay? And that's the prime aim of the passive voice. is when you want to focus your emphasis on the action of a sentence and the object, the person or the thing that the action is happening to. Okay, so to break it down very simply, you need to be, the verb to be, and you need the past participle. As I mentioned before, it's crucial that you learn how to use both of them. You need to learn the verb to be in every tense, how to use it, and you need to learn the past participle, okay? And then obviously the subject, you would still need a subject, but that would be the original object. What would be the object of the sentence? Now it's a bit confusing and it would be hard, it's going to be difficult for you to get straight away. So what I would suggest to you is to start off with a normal sentence. Start off where you've got a subject, a verb, and an object. Start off with that, then look at how you can convert that. Yeah, flip it on its head. Make the object into the subject, put in the verb to be, and then put in the past participle of the original verb. You never lose the original verb. Whatever verb you're using in that, you never lose it. You just have the past participle form of it, okay? But obviously, what you're working towards, your ideal goal, is that you can go straight into the passive voice, yeah, without having to first think about it in the normal sentence, in the active sentence. Now, as native speakers, we've been using the passive voice all our life, okay? And before I became a teacher, I was just using it. Before I did my training, I didn't realize I was using it. I didn't know why I was using it. I didn't know how it was constructed. I was just using it. So obviously in native speakers, this is not a problem. We just naturally go into it. It is a problem when you're learning English, but I promise you, if you just study the structure, think about the fact that it needs to be, you want to focus on the subject, on the object of a sentence and the action, because you think, in your opinion, that is more important. Yeah? So that is the passive voice. A fantastic part of English. I certainly hope you get it. If you enjoyed what you saw today, why don't you subscribe to my YouTube channel? Just, let me get rid of this. Just go onto YouTube. Go onto YouTube, and in the search bar, just look for my name. Yeah, it will give you the channel. Click onto the channel, click subscribe. It's not going to cost you any money at all. It's going to be free. I'm going to be uploading videos all the time. Okay, so if you go on there might only be a few on for now. I'm going to be uploading videos all the time. Please feel free to use them. Share them. I would ask you very much. Please share them. And the one thing that I would ask you, please, 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 the adverts that come on before the start of the video, please watch them, because that's what helps us to maintain the channel subscription free. So just watch them for 30 seconds or however long it is, and then enjoy the video. Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. My name's Duncan again, Duncan. And if you've got any questions about this, please type them up. I promise you, you will get a response from me within 24 hours. Okay, I'm Duncan. This has been the passive voice, and all I can say is until the next video, over and out.